Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. Man, look at these Wulfr-EK boys. They're just super excited to get started today. We're going to be taking Norsca, and you know what this amount of chariots means. We must be fighting some rats, and yes indeed, we're up against the Skaven today. Another replay with myself and Wicked here. So let's go ahead and have a look at the builds. My build, of course, Wulfr-EK on the chariot. Going to be leading the way here, just cutting through the hordes of rats astride his awesome wheeled contraption here. He's got Hunter of Champions, Fight or Die, Sea Fang, Foe Seeker, so all the abilities. Did not bring the Sword of Torgal though, as it is non-AP weapon damage, and the chariot does primarily armor piercing, so it doesn't actually give you that much value on the chariot, so I tend to leave it at home on this particular mount. Same thing with the Mammoth, not that you would really ever take Wulfr-EK on the Mammoth, at least right now. Anyway, distractions aside, we've got Marauders in the front line, a couple of Famir Miststalkers for one, and a great weapon for the other. Let's see here. Famir Balefiend, Lore of Fire. He's got Cascading Fire Cloak, Flaming Sword of Ruin, and the Burning Head. So that burnt effect in particular, combined with the Miststalker's Terror, is going to be very strong against the Skaven. We've also got the Kennel here, Beasts of Tashnar, and the Norscan Ice Wolves. Norscan Ice Wolves give the Frostbite, Beasts of Tashnar give the Anti-Large. And we've also got a couple more chariots here, another Ice Wolf and another Marauder chariot. For Wicked's Skaven here, he's got a single group of Gutter Poisons that was vanguarded up a little bit too close and did get spotted by this chariot group here. He's immediately going to go after them, and he's brought a very kind of ninja rat themed list. So he's got just a single Skaven Slave here, Gutter Runners, Lord Skrolk, and an Assassin. So currently this Skaven Slave and Lord Skrolk are the only ones visible besides those Gutter Runners we caught in the side there. Gutter Runners Poison as well. We've got more Gutter Runner Slingers. We've got Death Runners, more Gutter Runner Slingers, and Shuriken all around, with two more Death Runners over on the side. So this huge Vanguard force kind of over here on the side of the map here. Lots of Ninja Rats. And at this point I was a little bit confused, because I'm like, okay, I see Lord Skrolk here. I see some Skaven Slaves, and I know there's some Ninja Rats over here, so there's got to be more Ninja Rats out there somewhere. So we're immediately going to start pushing forward to try and find out where my opponent's at. Meanwhile, this group of ratty boys, unfortunately, is just going to get the Wulfr-EK treatment as these chariots come through. And, oh man, the wolves just going to kind of chew on their faces a little bit. Going to get some side swipes from the halberd here. And, oh man, he managed to survive that side swipe. But once the chariots get rolling, especially, or either the Skaven will move and the chariots will roll over them, or the chariots will just roll around on their own, I guess. But they are going to get routed off here and start to take a lot of impact damage. So pretty good catch for me already. I'm using the Hounds here as kind of a vanguard to scout a little bit, to see if we can't spot. I do see there's some more Gutter Runners here. I haven't spotted the Assassin yet, though, so I know there's some kind of shenanigans going on. We're just going to go ahead and move the chariots forward. Since I know there's no Rat Ogres for sure, I'd be able to spot them on this, you know, MP Crossroads flat map here. So I'm pretty confident to just run around with my chariots and not really have anything that can stop them up in terms of mass. So that's why I'm being pretty aggressive with them, doing some scouting, not really worried too much about a massive ambush of Ninja Rats. You can see the Norscan Ice Wolves also doing some scouting here. I'm going to start to spot some of this force over here. Yep, you can see there some of those units starting to come into view, so I'm like, okay, I see what's going on now. We're going to go ahead and continue to advance nice and tight here. Over here on the side, these Ninja Rats continue to be run down, and one of the nice things, and the particular reason why I bring the Ice Wolf chariots here, the Frostbite that the Ice Wolf chariots have is key for chasing down Gutter Runners, because they have poison missiles. They have, well, if you bring them with poison missiles, they can not have poison missiles if you choose not to, but at the very least they have the snare nets, plus the poison if you choose to have it, means that it's pretty hard to catch them for some units, and the chariots aren't super fast. I mean, 78 is pretty solid, but it can potentially be hard to catch them, but if you do, then the Ice Wolf chariots, even just one hit, will apply that Frostbite, and they're not getting away from you anytime soon. So, again, that's why I bring the Ice Wolf chariots, but you can see I did miss a little bit of the main engagement here as the Ice Wolves were able to charge in. I charged in as well with my chariots, and Wicked actually used the Liber Bubonicus on the unit of Ice Wolf chariots, which is a pretty good use of it. However, Wulfr-EK also is going to be a good target as well, since obviously he can't heal, he's on the chariot, and he's a pretty powerful character as well, so might have been better to use it on him, but it's definitely a tough decision in the heat of battle. But yeah, Throg is probably going to be a more common pick in this matchup. I just like Wulfr-EK because he's on the chariot, and the boat's also pretty good against the lighter Skaven infantry. Speaking of which, looks like that's going to come through and cut through some of these ninja rats. Since they're not too blobbed up, it doesn't actually do that much damage at the end of the day, but every little bit helps here. And yeah, you can see the hounds moving up and just kind of holding the ninja rats in place so that the slower, heavier units can go ahead and get their paws on them. You can see the Famir following up here over on the side. This group of marauders getting dragged out, pounded by death runners and gutter runners there. So far looking pretty alright for the Skaven, all things considered. You know, my chariots have started to take a lot of damage, and the hounds as well taking a pretty significant amount of damage here. So you can see them coming forward here, and they are once they're able to get a hold of these ninja rats here, the frostbite takes effect. It's going to be really hard for the ninja rats to get away there. So the frostbite mechanic definitely powerful against the Skaven. You can see a burning head goes down in the back line, roasts out some of those death runners. I probably should have waited a little bit longer for these other death runners to commit, and I could have roasted out this pocket here. But still, Ice Wolf Chariot's going to come get a nice brutal side charge, just a huge fountain of blood there. More Marauder Chariots following up, and the Famir kind of blocks up their retreat a little bit here, but friendly fire coming in from the Shuriken there. Of course, Skaven don't really mind friendly fire too much. And yeah, they're just going to be pulling straight through there. You can see that pretty much has routed off those Death Runners. We're going to go ahead and continue on into the Death Runners here. And, sorry, Gutter Runners, rather. And yeah, just keep on charging through. Keep that Warhammer-EK train rolling. And yeah, we're going to get a great shot here. Just some rats going for a ride there. Looks like Skrulk throwing down, is that a Wither? Yep, to help debuff the armor of the chariots, which will then allow these non-AP missiles to do a bit more damage, but still, at the end of the day, it's going to be pretty rough. I mean, Wulfr-EK is pretty low, though, that being said, and with him gone, it could potentially cause leadership issues, but speaking of leadership issues, both units of Famir are still completely healthy. The Miststalkers, with their terror especially, just got a hold of this assassin, and they're beating the crap out of him, so pretty uncomfortable stuff. For the Skaven, and with the Assassin starting to take so much damage, that is going to start to tip the balance of power there. The Chariot's also just free to run rampant all over the Ninja Rats here, so yeah, definitely pretty rough stuff for my opponent not having any Rat Ogres, and pretty cool kind of thematic list, certainly, but I do think that there could be just a couple things you could do to fine-tune it, and I actually think this kind of ranged-heavy build has quite a bit of merit against Norsca, just kind of in general. But another Flaming Skull going down, this one going to pass through a pretty good horde of Ninja Rats. Again, they're not too blobbed up, but it does burn a pretty good path through them. I'm going to go ahead and continue on, and unfortunately not quite catch any rats at the end there, but yeah, my Chariots did take quite a bit of damage. I think if my opponent had just brought a few Rat Ogres, then he could have done a good job in stopping up the Chariots, and that would have allowed the skirmish units to then just, you know, fight and retreat, and not get caught up by the Chariots. We'll talk a little bit more about that in just a minute here, but yeah, you can see the Famir come in to kind of wipe up the last of the troops here. Skrulk trying to summon. Well, he is summoning scum, pretty much, so yeah, trying to summon more clan rats here just to keep the battle going, but at this point, he's getting beat up by the Miststalkers, and the rest of the Famir and Chariots are just rolling over what's left of the Skaven army, so it is going to be a victory for Norsca. Very fun battle, well played at Wicked, and yeah, like I said, I do think that this kind of ranged heavy build has some merit against Norsca, certainly, because they're not necessarily the fastest faction. They certainly can bring some pretty powerful fast attack units. You know, the Chariots are pretty strong. Ice Wolves are pretty good even of themselves. You know, you have Hounds and stuff too. So they definitely can bring some pretty powerful fast attack units. But in general, they're not the fastest faction in the world. So if you really use the skirmish tools you have, especially the Poison Skirmish to good effect, you can kind of drag them out a little bit there, but you can see my Marauders did take some damage. The Chariots, actually, one unit dropped a couple unit models, but the other ones, interesting bug with Warhammer, if they don't drop any unit models, it says they're still full health, which is again why the Miststalkers and the Famir here have full health as well, but 101 kills on Wulfr-EK, riding around on his Chariot, able to get some really good work done though. though he did take a lot of damage. Again, very squishy against the Skaven, which is why Throg is arguably a better pick in this matchup. Granted, he's going to be pretty punishable by this non-AP missile fire as well, just because he doesn't have the greatest armor in the world. But for my opponent's build here, yeah, very heavy on the ninja rats, pretty much. So let's go ahead and talk about a few things here that you could potentially fine-tune. So the Death Runners are a decent pick here, especially if you're going with kind of a Ninja Rat thematic list. I think 4 is probably a little bit of an overinvestment, though, just because Death Runners are pretty squishy, and they're kind of expensive, and so it's tough to make them pay off, potentially. But in terms of leadership here, Lord Skrulk's pretty good. Plague Rash, the speed debuff actually in this particular matchup I would say is good. Pestilent Breath is one you want to take. Wither, you might want to consider this one as well to help take down Famir, although if you keep these Death Runners kind of as a reserve specifically to go after Famir, I think that you can deal with them that way with the armor sundering and the armor piercing that they have. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that and just take Vermintide and the Breath spell, Pestilent Breath, very good against the light Norscan infantry. And of course both items for Lord Skrulk. In terms of the rest of the army, Assassin's a pretty good choice. I usually cut Slippery just to make him a little bit cheaper. And then Warlock Engineer, you know, flying units aren't super common as the Norscans, so maybe not the Warlock Engineer on this one. Maybe we'll just run with 2 heroes this time. And then for the rest of the army, the Slingers, definitely pretty strong. So we're going to grab a couple of Gutter Runner Slingers, a couple of Gutter Runner Poison Slingers to give us a nice skirmish squad. We'll give 1 Warp Lightning Cannon just to kind of keep our opponents honest. 2 units of Rat Ogres, better make it 3 actually. And then from here we can kind of just grab some chaff stuff, like we'll grab some Skaven Slaves. And maybe some Slave Slingers as well. Slave Slingers can be super cost effective against Norsca, so we'll bring 4 of them just to give us lots of numbers here. And at this point we could maybe even grab like a Slave Spear, or maybe we cut one of these guys down, and oh man, we don't quite have enough for a Clan Rat, but yeah, maybe we do something like this. Might be pretty solid. Not quite as heavy on the range, but you still do have quite a bit of slinger power, and you're also going to want to keep these Gutter Runners back a little ways. You know, just kind of play super mobile, wait for your opponent to come towards your Warp Lightning Cannon, and kind of move your forces up and skirmish while they're coming towards you. And then use your Rat Ogres to stop up their mobile units, and then just, you know, fight and retreat, scoot and shoot, as they say. And you're going to want to kind of mix these guys up, like... let's just quickly go to the deployment here. We'll random gen some Vampire Army. Oh, it gave us Helmengorst. How wonderful. Oh, Helmengorst. How I wish you were someone else. Anyway, that's a topic for another video. But just in terms of deployment here, let me quickly show you. It's a good idea to mix the Gutter Runners with the Skaven Slaves, because let's say your opponent, you know, in that initial few seconds where you're scouting your opponent's army, checking to see what they have, if they don't check too closely, they could easily mistake Slave Slingers for Gutter Runners, or vice versa, which is why it's a good idea to mix them up a little bit. So something like this, I think, with the Gutter Runner Slingers, I would actually put the poison ones out on the flanks so that they can kind of you know, stay out to the sides and use their poison to good effect. But I would just, you know, super spread them out just all over the map. It is going to be potentially dangerous, but you know, you're going to use your Rat Ogres to kind of counter-respond here and make sure to stop up any mobile units that would be able to get a hold of these, and then otherwise just stay very mobile with your Gutter Runners here and just scoot and shoot as much as you can with this massive line. Obviously, I don't have the tools to really go as aggressively Vanguard, but the Rat Ogres in particular are very, very key for stopping up the Chariots. Chariots are very strong in this particular matchup, so I might do something like this, where I have this Warp Lightning Cannon. Maybe we'll even put it a little bit close to the forest here, so we can potentially like hide some Rat Ogres in the forest. Since they can hide, we'll go ahead and put one group there, we'll put one group there, and maybe we put one group away over here or something. And then this Slinger line, we're just going to kind of move over and up, and then these guys are going to come forward, kind of skirmish a little bit. The Death Runners, we're going to keep in a little bit of a deep reserve. They're going to be back here by the Warp Lightning Cannons, since they have stock. And then the Skaven Slaves are just kind kind of going to be scattered around to run in as infantry speed bumps if possible, and then the slave spears aren't really going to protect the warp lightning cannon per se, but they can at least run forward and again act as a bit of a speed bump. And then obviously you're going to want Skrulk near the middle of the formation with the assassin probably close by protecting him. So I might run something like this just as a little bit of a modification to that build. The warp lightning cannon just to give you a little bit more long range pressure and to give your opponent kind of a focal point to advance on, and then a more I guess wider army with slave slingers rather than just tons of gutter runners. We've also traded out some of the death runners for rat ogres just to give us the mass. And yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below though. Hope you guys enjoyed watching this one. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button so every time I upload a new video you'll be notified. So thanks again for watching. Skrulk and his assassin buddy also thank you as well, and we'll see you on the next one.